Good morning. Thanks for taking the time to stop and check out the channel. Appreciate it very much. So here's my 2020 TBF National Championship recap. Phenomenal time at Grand Lake. I just want to first start by kind of laying out what got me to Grand Lake. Last year I fished. I paid for my membership at TBF. It was a $90 membership. Then I paid $50 to fish the state qualifier, the SFQT. I managed to come in third at the SFQT, which got me a free entry into the semifinals, and I won a Denali rod actually at that tournament as well. So I got that free entry in the semifinals. It was on Lake Winnipesaukee, a 2-day event. We fished that semifinal qualifier. It was Maine and New Hampshire, 2-day event. I ended up coming in third overall with I was second in New Hampshire. With that third place finish, I ended up making $380. We fished out of Silver Sands, stayed right at the motel there. Great little facility. After that, I basically thought my 2019 TBF season was a wrap. The first place finishers from each state get to move on to TBF National Championship. That was my ultimate goal, but I fell a little bit shy. A young kid by the name of Tyler Robinson absolutely smacked him. He was paired with Dan Tavilla on day 2 of that tournament, and they got into him, and Tyler weighed in a bag was a little over 13 pounds, and it was incredible. Tyler was actually, I believe, leading after day 1, too. He had 11 and a half. He had like a pound over me that day, and I bested myself from day 1, but he bested himself as well, so it was good for Tyler. But mid-January, January 15th, actually, I remember the day, I got a phone call I was not expecting. It was Karen from the TBF office asking me if I would like to go to the TBF National Championship. Something came up and Tyler couldn't go, so they were calling me to see if I wanted to make the trek. And I was blown away. Never expected that phone call. So, of course, I did the right thing. I said, Karen, let me talk to the wife, and we'll see what we can make happen. I 100% want to go. But I just got to do the right thing and talk to the boss, and I'll get back to you. So, after trying to get a hold of the wife unsuccessfully, we eventually got a hold of the wife, and she was just as tickled as I was. So we were going to do everything in our powers to make that opportunity happen. Excuse me. Got that call January 15th, and we're in. The event is scheduled for the 9th, 10th, and 11th as official practice days of March, and the tournament is the 12th, 13th, and 14th on Grand Lake in Oklahoma. Official cutoff was the 24th of February, I believe. So I reached out to Dan Tavilla, who was the boater representative from New Hampshire, and we kind of came up with a game plan. Dan was going out for pre-practice right before the cutoff. Unfortunately, I had just such short notice. I couldn't get the time off, and I haven't got a lot of fishing lined up this year, so I couldn't afford to take the time off at this point. But Dan went out and spent 6 days on on Grand Lake doing some pre-practice. Before Dan left, we had chatted, and he was great enough to take my gear out there. So I literally got that phone call. I had 5 weeks to think about Grand Lake and get ready. But hindsight, I had 2.5 weeks to get all my gear together and get it down to Dan, and so he could make that trek, and my stuff would be out there. I'll be honest. I mean, clearly my thoughts weren't even about Grand Lake. It wasn't even on the radar. I was focusing on Lake Erie and the Bass Regional coming up in June, and getting my mindset ready for that and what I needed to do to give myself the best chance to win for that. So we had to flip gears a little bit and readjust our focus, and spent a lot of time on YouTube doing some video research and watching some content and reading a lot of articles on the internet and trying to prep for Grand and get my tackle where I needed it to be. So, like I said, Dan took my gear out there. He drove down, made the trek, did some fishing, and then he flew back. So on March 8th, we flew down together. I drove down to Dan's house. His mother was gracious enough to take us to the airport. We went over to the airport. Flew into Atlanta, had a connecting flight, a little bit of a layover, and then flew over to Tulsa. Dan's truck was right at the airport when we got there, so we hopped in the truck in Tulsa, drove to Grove, which was about a little over an hour away, grabbed the boat, and then we went to our hotel and checked in, the Outrigger Motel. Great little spot. I gotta say, TBF really takes care of you. You know, we had to pay for one night because we got an extra night there. We were in there early, but TBF took care of the whole stay. The New Hampshire TBF gives you a travel stipend. You know, it was $500 for the co-angler and $1,000 for the angler. All I really had to pay for was my flight ticket down there and some food here and there and some fuel to get back. But really, I mean, you got to think of it. I've got $140 into this right now. That's it. That's all I paid, other than tackle and stuff. But I don't really count that stuff. I'm gonna have that either way. But in my $140 investment so far, I've made $380 fishing the semifinal, and I've won a rod. And now I'm going to the national championships, got a $500 stipend. And we're going to go fish, and everybody's guaranteed to get something at this event. There's 54 representatives of different states. So there's 54 boaters, 54 co-anglers. So we get checked into the Outrigger. It's that Sunday night. I pull my stuff out of Dan's boat because there's nothing on it. Rods are stripped down. I got to put my reels on and get my baits tied on and get all that done. So we spend that first night getting settled in and getting all the gear rigged up and ready to go. Our plan for the next day was to hit the water bright and early. We were fishing sun up to sundown. We were giving it all we had. First day, we get up, we head to the lake. We had come up with a game plan. We were launching out of Honey Creek. The winds were howling that day. I felt this gave us the best protection from the wind a little bit. And it was a good little area of the lake to try to dissect. Water was a little cleaner. Water on Grand had been pretty dirty, depending on where you were. But we went to Honey Creek, spent the day, just the majority of the day in that creek. Caught one midday on a jerkbait. That was my plan as a co-angler, was try to throw the jerkbait. Left the bait in the strike zone the longest, and you know, I figured they'd be feeding and getting ready to spawn and thinking about moving up and doing all that stuff. So I thought that would give me the best chance at a decent bag as a co. So I was pushing the jerkbait. I was just trying, search and see if we could stumble onto something. But I caught that one spotted bass about midday on the jerkbait. It was about 2.5 pounds. And that was it on the jerkbait. I could get bit. Dan couldn't get bit. Later in the day, the sun came out. We were fishing a rock wall, and I flipped a Ned bait in there and ended up catching another one about 2.5, a largemouth. But really, I mean, we tried to reproduce it, and we just couldn't dial anything in. So we got back to the hotel that night, re-rigged up and got stuff ready and tried to reassess and figure out where we were going to go for the next day. The next day we launched out of Wolf Creek, where the takeoff was, and we ran around a little bit and it was just a tough day. The weather was better. The weather had gotten up to like the 70s. It had been a little cooler than that, but the weather had warmed up, so that was nice. But the fishing was still tough. I think Dan caught a shorter one on an A rig that day, and that was about it. I didn't get a bite all day. So we had to get off the water a little early that day. TBF does their informative banquet and information session that night. So I think we had to meet at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So we got off the water about 3. Made the trip over to the Grove Civic Center. And, you come in and they hand you your trophy for making it there. And they hand out shirts, hats. They gave the boaters some gas money. You get a lure, rods. They take care of it. It was unbelievable. They had a great food spread. We got some local barbecue joint took care of us that day. Then Rob gets up there and does his whole speech, tells us about the awards, what's going on, what the plan is for the week, how it's going to go. And, we talk about all the sponsors and what they do for us and how they make it what it is for us. And it's a really great night. It was a cool time, and then you get to socialize with all the other anglers, and everybody had a good time. So that night, they also draw your day one partners. So the last official day of practice, you fish with your day one partner, so you guys get familiar with each other, kind of know the waters you're going to be fishing and what your plan is. So I drew Tim out of West Virginia for day one. Tim had caught a couple shorts. He wasn't really on a whole lot. I wasn't on a whole lot. So Wednesday for us was just about to go fishing. We went fishing, and it was another grind. We went up to the Elk River, tried to find some cleaner water, because the bass seemed to want the cleaner water. Tim caught a couple shorts on a spinnerbait, but other than that, he caught those early, and we didn't get another bite the rest of the day. So we got off the water on Wednesday, got our gear all set up, and had a good meal that night, and said, we'll just go hit it hard on the first day of the tournament on Thursday. So Tim picks me up in the morning. We take the ride over to Wolf Creek, and you pull into this facility, and it's unbelievable. You drive down the row, and the TBF guys are waving you in, and you get the volunteers, the golf carts, everybody. All the staff is there, and you pull down this row, and they got guys with bags of ice, water, Subway sandwiches, snacks all ready for you, and they jump it, they throw it in the boat, load your cooler up, and you're set to go. You don't have to bring nothing, just your tackle, your rods, whatever you need, you know what I mean, but food, drinks, it's all set. So you get all that stuff loaded in the boat, you pull off to the side, and then you go into the pavilion, and they got a whole breakfast spread for you. They really, really take care of you. So after you shooting the breeze with your fellow anglers for a little bit, and it's time to launch the boats, and you drive down to the boat launch, and there's a whole crew of volunteers there waiting for you. They're waving you. There's 4 lanes. They're directing you what lane to go in. You back the boat in. You drop the boater off in the water, and you park the truck, and then they got somebody there with a golf cart ready to bring you back down to the boat. It was just... There was no stuff. They rolled out everything for you. It was just one of the most efficient and greatest things I've seen. It was such a cool opportunity. So we're in the boat, morning of day one. TBF does the prayer. They do the national anthem. Then the boats start lining up in by boat numbers and orders, and we start to launch. And we're off. It's day one. We're headed to a spot that Tim had in mind. And of course, we pull up, and there's a boat there first stop. That's fishing. That's how it goes. So we went to a next spot, and right around the corner, and it was a bluff wall, about 30, 40 feet deep, and we just go fish a bluff wall. There was some bait busting out there. I threw a couple casts at the bait and caught a couple white bass. One was a good one. It was nice to finally get the hooks into something other than nothing. That's what I had done for 3 days. So finally got the hooks into something that was kind of cool, but wrong species. So we went about it for a little while, going down the bluff wall, and Tim ended up catching a line burner on a crankbait. So we kept running around trying to reproduce that a little bit, and we just had no luck. No luck. It was just another grind on grand that day. About 1 o'clock, we made the decision to run back into Wolf Creek. So we run back into Wolf Creek. We go fish some docks near the launch, and we're not getting any bites. Looks good, but water's a little dirtier. We're just not getting the bites. Tim about 2 o'clock says, "Hey, let's run over to the other side. We'll go check that out." I said, "Yeah, no problem." We really got no plan at this point. So we run over to the other side. We find this little pocket. Looks great. The wind's blowing into it. And we get settled down. He's throwing a spinnerbait. I'm throwing a Spro Little John. And so we're going down the bank. And you just start to notice bait busting in this area. We're like, all right, that's cool. It's 3 feet deep. It's not deep at all. And next thing you know, Tim hooks up. And I run, grab the net, and Tim gets another one in the boat. Tim's got 2 in the boat. We're jacked up now. We're pumped. That's 2, you know what I mean? As a co-angler, it's great to see your boater doing well. If you're not going to do well, you want to see your boater do well. Somewhere down the line, if you watch those old bass and FLW videos, the camaraderie between the co-angler and the angler were unbelievable. They shared those moments. They weren't worried or concerned with how the guy in the back was doing. They cheered each other on, and they wanted nothing but the best for that. I feel like we've lost that a little bit in the game. I tried to do everything I can to bring that back. I want him to do well as much as I want to do well. I'm not competing against you. I'm competing against myself and the other co-anglers. So whatever I can do to help lighten the mood on that boat that day, that's what I try to do. I try to be the best co-angler I can possibly be. So me and Tim had a great day that day. When he was catching fish, I was just as jacked up. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't, no animosity, no none of that. Good for Tim. Let's do what we need to get Tim some fish. But it wasn't nearly 2 casts later that I hook up. We get that fish in the boat. Tim nets it. I throw that little Spro Little John in, and I found a little ditch that was, it went from 3 feet to like 4.5 feet. And they were sitting in there. So I get that fish in the boat. And this fish is huge for me. It's my first fish at the National Championship. And I had a little gripe with that fish. I had to catch that fish. I wanted to catch that fish. Something that stuck with me is in 2016, I went to the Bass Regional at Douglas Lake. All I wanted to do at that event was weigh a fish. I wanted to catch a fish across that stage. I never got that chance, and that stuck with me. So my number one goal this whole week was to catch a fish and cross the stage, so my daughter can watch me on the live stream. She didn't get to do that in 2016, and that stuck with me, and I was going to do whatever I can to try to not let that happen again. So when I caught that first fish was huge for me. It relaxed me. It took that burden off my shoulders, and we had a fish in the box. Not 2 casts later, I threw up next to a brush pile, and I caught a 4-pounder. Now I'm just over the moon. I got 2 fish in the box. The fish has been tough. I'll take it. I'm burning this Spro Little John in 3 to 4.5 feet of water. And it was working. The bait was there. The wind was blowing there, and they were there. Not a few casts later, Tim catches another 3-pounder. And then a little bit after that, he catches a catfish. But within 15 minutes, we got healthy real quick. Between 2 of us, we caught over 12 pounds of fish in those few minutes. Unfortunately, we ran short on time. We were right near the launch, and we had to get back in. So we left those fish and headed back to the weigh-in. So you pull into these horseshoe docks, and everybody docks their boat, and you check in. And the way TBF does it is you weigh in by region or by division. So they wait for you to call your division, they hand you the bag, and you head up. Co-anglers way before the anglers. So I go up up, and we bring the fish to the tanks. We give it to the bump guy. He checks the fish, puts them in a mesh bag, and you go to the bump tank and wait for Rob to call your name on the stage. That day, everybody's obviously feeling each other out in the tanks, and I think the most any Eastern Division guy had that day was 3 fish. So the gentleman that had 3 fish ended up weighing a little over 8 pounds that day. There was another gentleman that weighed 614. I came in with my 2 weighed 607. And then there was another kid from Canada right behind me that weighed 1 fish for 6 pounds. It was a beautiful fish. So we're in the mix. Kept ourselves in the hunt. That's all you can ask for is obviously goal number 1 was to catch a fish. Goal number 2 was to win the Eastern Division, and then goal number 3 is to win the whole thing. On day number 1, a gentleman by the name of Derek Pendleton caught 20 pounds from the back of the boat. It's incredible. He had a 5-pound lead over the boater leader for that day. Just a phenomenal day. I can only imagine how he felt that day in the back of that boat, but it's good for him. Good to see that. So day number 2, I draw Lauren Torque out of Idaho. A couple guys from the Northeast know Lauren. I hadn't met him yet, but we got to meet that afternoon, and it was a great interaction. We were pumped for the day. Knew what we were doing for the following day, so went home, got my stuff ready. And Lauren picked me up first thing on Friday morning. Again, we went to the launch, we went to Wolf Creek. They filled our boat with sandwiches, refreshments, ice, you name it. We did the breakfast deal, shot the breeze, got the boat in the water, prayer, national anthem, and we're off. On this day, though, Grand Lake was angry. The wind was howling. And it was coming, and we had a good 40-minute run this morning. We were headed back towards the dam area. It was an area I hadn't fished. I had wanted to fish. I had heard about it, but that's where we were going. Lauren drove like a champ. The water was rough, and he cut those waves in that Phoenix, and we made that run, and it was an incredible ride, and we were there in no time. You know what I mean? Normally you get beat up and ride like that, but we didn't. Lauren drove like I said, drove like a champ. So we get there, and we're going to be running and gunning on this day. It's Lauren's plan to hit as many secondary points as we can, to cycle between some spots he had and some fish he had, and see what we can do to get the fish in the boat. So we run around, we hit some of these secondary points that we're fishing some spots, and we're not getting many bites. Again, another tough day. On this day, we're throwing we're sitting in 20, 30 feet of water, cashing towards shore. So we were throwing the A-rig all day. Not something I've done very much of, but that was the beta choice on this day. That's what they had caught a lot of the fish on down there, so that's what I thought gave me the best chance. I mixed between that and a jerkbait for most of the day. But at one point, we're going down the bank, and I did this little flip back cast, and it's about midday, maybe mid-morning, maybe 10-ish. And my bait's, I don't know, 10, 15 feet from the boat, and I just get absolutely freight trained. And I'm like, Lauren, get the net, Lauren, get the net. And Lauren's up front. He's trying to crank his Alabama rig in because you don't want to get that thing hung up on the bottom. 1, they're expensive, and 2, it's just a pain in the butt. So I completely understand Lauren's trying to get his bait in. I'm like, Lauren, the fish is right here. He turns around, he goes, holy kid, you weren't kidding. The fish is right here. And it was. It was right there. And we got that guy in the net, and it was a 4.5 to 5 pounder. And that was the first fish I caught on that day. And, going into the day, I knew I had a 2-pound deficit. So, my goal is for when I fish these kind of tournaments, 2-day, multi-day tournaments, is to beat myself from the prior day. I figure that gives me the best chance, and I do what I can to try to do that. Just compete within myself and try to better myself each day. So that fish put me in a good spot. Lauren catches a line squeaker not long after, a keeper. We run around to a few other points, and then Lauren has this little brush area he likes to fish. With some, it was actually a great looking stretch of water. He said, I don't know how there isn't a fish here. There's got to be a fish here. And he's literally saying those words. He goes, I mean, this cast is unbelievable. How is there not a fish? Boom! Lauren's fighting a fish. He sets the hook. He literally called the shot. It was a cool moment. But he gets that fish in the boat, and that one's close to 4 pounds as well. So we run back to where I caught my fish. We hit these points in rotation. Just trying to catch them feeding. And I do the same exact cast at that same spot, and I catch another one, 2.5 pounds. I don't know what it was about that little flick back cast, but I mean, something about the angle of the dangle. It worked. It worked on that fish, in that spot. But I get 2 fish in the boat now, and I'm sitting at us anglers. I'm staying right around 6 pounds, so I'm feeling good. I'm just trying to better myself. So we ran around a little bit more, and I'm throwing this Alabama rig in a deeper spot, probably 20, 25 feet of water, and I get another bite, and I reel that fish in. And it was a line burning spotter bass, but it kept. It's like, sweet, let's go for a limit. We're too shy. But it didn't happen. We ran around, hit a few other spots on the way back. We were getting short on time. But we had 3 fish in the box. Lauren had 2 in the box, so we were happy. We ran back to the weigh-in. We get on the horseshoe docks, and today we're weighing in reverse order from how we did it the day prior. They switched divisions, and you alternate, and so I think the day before we were like 4th to weigh in, so today we're 3rd. Lauren's in the first group. He goes to weigh in. Lauren had the lead for his division going into the day, and he kept that lead. Lauren's goal was accomplished, and he won his division. It was great to see. And then, for me, it was actually funny. I was sitting at the dock, and I looked at the TBF guy, and I'm like, when we got back, I'm like, I go to the bathroom. I'm like, how much time do I got? And he goes, go ahead, just make it quick. So I jump in a golf cart. They run me up to the bathhouse. I take care of my business, and we come back, and I see all the Eastern guys are already in the bump tank. So I run down. I grab my bag from the tee area. He's like, let's go. Because they get the whole production and live and whatnot. So I throw my fish in the bag, and I run up there, bump them, put them in the mesh bag, and I see some faces are missing from the day before. There's some new faces. So guys that had weighed fish aren't here. Guys that hadn't weighed fish are here. A little bit of flip-flopping. The guy that had caught 3 the day before was in the lead, had a couple in his bag. So everybody's obviously feeling each other out. It just happened to work out because of my whole bathroom situation that I was the last to weigh in the Eastern Division for co-angler. So right before Rob calls my name, the guy ahead of me weighs 11 pounds total. He's sitting in first place for the Eastern Division. I went into the day with 6. I thought I had around 6 pounds. I honestly didn't weigh my fish. I didn't know. I had no idea. I just threw them in the box and kept fishing. So I round the corner. Rob calls my name. I round the corner and I hand him the fish. So we put him on the scale. And he looks at me and he says, "You got 8:15 on the day." And in that moment, I knew I was the last one. There was nobody left behind me. I just did it. I just won the Eastern Division at co-angler. I was blown away. 2 months ago, I wasn't even coming here. I wasn't supposed to be here. And now everything's changed. So I'm bringing my fish to the live release boat, and I'm getting ready to call the wife after I drop those fish off. But in between that, I get a text message from my little brother who's watching the live stream back at home. And he knew what was going on. He sends me a text and he says, did I just watch you get to day 3? And so I call the wife, and just the sound in her voice is something I'll never forget. She goes, "Oh my God, you did it. You did it. You did it." And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, we did it. We did it. We got here. We got the chance. We seized the opportunity. And we got to day 3. We gave ourselves a fighting chance. it is just an unreal moment listening to my girls on the phone and talking to the wife. Just all the excitement. It was phenomenal. What a great night that was, with all the text messages and well wishes, and it was just incredible moment for me. Like I said, I wasn't even supposed to be there. And one thing me and my wife say is, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And it was meant to be. So, that night, we get our tackle ready for the next day. I speak with my day 3 guy, Chris Fiore. We're fishing together. We're both sitting in 6th place overall. And we each won our division. So the way it works is 4th through 7th is paid the same. It's a $5,700 prize package. And then as you get the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, the prizes increase. I'm in 6th place. I got nothing to lose. So day 3, I'm shooting for the moon. You know what I mean? I got nothing to lose. I'm going to give it everything I got, try to climb those ranks. I'm 9 pounds out of 1st, 8 pounds out of 2nd, and I was only 4 pounds out of 3rd. So we're swinging for the fence, and we're going to give it everything. Chris's plan, we ran down to the same water I was in the day before. We took that 40-mile ride down towards, 40-minute ride, down towards the dam. And fished that cleaner water down there. We could see the fish on the graph, but unfortunately on this day we just couldn't get them to eat. Me and Chris had a great time. We had some laughs. We shared some stories. We had a cool opportunity where the camera boat followed us along for a little while. And then the camera guy jumps in the boat and does interviews. Chris is a natural behind the camera. Me, not so much. Working on it. That's why I'm doing this. I get a little more comfortable doing stuff like that. But it was great to watch Chris in that moment and see how well he did. But it was a fun day on the water. A great experience. We ran back to Wolf Creek a little bit before the end of the day. Chris had caught some key fish at the end of the days, fishing the docks near there. And it was great to watch Chris catch one close to 4 pounds right at the end of the day. So he got to weigh a fish that day. It was awesome. I 0. But that's all right. It wasn't an issue. So the way it works on the final day, you're sworn to secrecy. No social media, no text messages. You can't communicate with anybody at home. I relayed that message the night before to the wife, the family. I just let everybody know that I wouldn't be able to be in touch. If you want to know how I did, you'd have to watch the live stream. So little did I know back home on that Saturday that everybody was together. They were all at my house. My parents, my brothers, their wives, and the kids and my wife were all at home. They had a good lasagna dinner. They were all sitting there watching the live stream. I think I was the second to weigh in. And I crossed the stage, and I didn't have any fish. But you know what? That was all right. They were proud of me. They got to see me do that. They got to see me in my element, doing what I love to do. And like I said, we swang for the fence that day. It didn't hurt us. And I ended up finishing 7th overall, but I had won the Eastern Division. So I got that $5,700 prize packages. So that package included a $2,500 check, $250 to live my dream, which is to fish any affiliated tournament with TBF, and they'll cover those costs. And then the remainder of the prize packages is to fish the BFL All-American on Lake Hartwell in a few weeks here at the end of April. You get a travel stipend for Hartwell. They pay for your hotels at Hartwell. And there's a guaranteed, there's 55 anglers in that event, and last place is guaranteed $750 check. So, incredible opportunity. I got back to the launch that day, and after we weighed in and we collected our checks and whatnot, Dan was waiting for me. He was there supporting me in the parking lot to the great travel partner. We had a great time. We shared many laughs. Had some great local food. Went out to eat. Parrots, the 1909, or the 1901 as Dan likes to call it. Awesome food. Awesome hospitality. I can't wait to get back someday. Hopefully the fishing's a little bit better. But definitely can't wait to check it out. But we hopped in the truck after I changed. That day with Chris, it was pouring rain, cold, nasty. I was soaked. So I changed my clothes, and we literally got in the truck, and we headed for home. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Grove, Oklahoma, and Dan did the most of driving. We did a little switching off in the middle of the night. I think I took over around 3 in the morning. Drove for a few hours, and then Dan hammered out the last leg of the trip. I can't thank Dan enough for everything he did for me on that trip, and for taking the brunt of that drive. I was smoked from being on the water. But I pulled back into my driveway at 5 o'clock on Sunday. It was basically a straight 24 hours from Grove home. And it was nice to be home. There's nothing like that warm embrace from your wife and kids when you get back, and the excitement in their voice for them to see you and to share that moment that you had. It was an awesome chance. I'm so glad I took that opportunity to go to Grand Lake. I'm going to do everything in my powers to get back to fish the TBF National Championship again. Just a little recap. $90 to be a member, $50 to fish a state, and that's all I paid out of my own pocket. So I'm all in for $140. I want to rod it at the state qualifier, $380 at the semifinals. I got a $500 travel stipend to go to nationals. They paid for the hotel. They fed us at lunch every day. We had a banquet. The boaters got some gas money, and then, I ended up coming in 7th overall and winning my division. So I got a $2,500 check, $250 to live my dream, and the rest of the money goes to fishing the BFL All-American in a few weeks here. I'm going to give that everything I got. If you haven't thought about joining TBF, take the chance. Join TBF. It's a good investment. Another people I have to thank, and on my way home that day, I sent some emails out, is this big one. My girls picked out this hat. It's their favorite hat. It's my pink hat. I wore it every day of that tournament. Dobbins Rods has been with me for 3 years now, and they support me. They have some of the best customer service you will ever find in the industry. If you have any questions, you just give them a call, and they'll answer them right there on the spot. And if they can't answer them, they'll find somebody that can. I shot an email out that day to them, thanking them for everything they do for me. Just appreciate their support. They emailed me back on Monday. I got an email back, and then Monday night I got another surprise email I wasn't expecting. Gary Dobbins himself, he emailed me, congratulating me for my achievements, and thanking me for supporting them and helping them out. When hindsight, it's me thanking them for what they've done for me. Incredible opportunity. Me and Gary had a back and forth for a couple days via email, and some moments I'll cherish for a long time. That actual jersey right there is a Gary Dobbins signed jersey. That was given to me by Jim McNeil out of Massachusetts. When I fished the Bass State Qualifier, he saw my love and affection for Dobbins and my passion for them, and he sent me that jersey a few days after that tournament, and for that I'm grateful. Dobbins has been good to me, and I can't say enough good things about them. So, other than that, that's my wrap for the 2020 TBF All-American. Thanks for taking the time to check this video out. Again, I appreciate your time, and best of luck on the water.